Have you ever felt like a toxic ex still controls your life? Like their haunting presence still lingers, shaping every thought, how you feel about yourself, and even how you relate to other people? Many people who I've worked with have told me that it's like their toxic ex has taken up residence in their head, even years after the relationship has ended. My name's Ruth Ann. I'm a clinical psychologist with over 15 years experience helping people to build healthy relationships after toxic ones. In that time, I have seen some incredible transformations, and I've noticed one thing that sets apart the people who truly heal after toxic relationships. They stop doing something that many of us don't even realize is keeping us stuck. This small but life-changing shift can stop you feeling trapped and help you move towards a better future. But it might not be what you think, and I'll be honest, it might be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. Let me explain. When you've been through a toxic or abusive relationship, you're left with a lot of questions. What was wrong with them? How could they do this to me? What did they mean by this behavior? Might they be a narcissist? Is there something to do with me? How can I keep myself safe in the future from people like this? It feels urgent to get answers to these questions, like somehow understanding them is going to help keep you safe in the future. This can lead you down a real rabbit hole, analyzing every detail of their behavior, trying to figure out why they said that, why they did that, where they were lying, and what the heck was going on. Now, at first, it feels like relief. You start to identify patterns of abusive behavior, maybe patterns you didn't even realize were happening when you were in the relationship. It can alleviate self-blame because you realize that their behaviors were everything to do with them and nothing to do with you. And it can bring validation of your feelings and your experiences. This understanding and validation can be a vital step, especially in the early stages of recovering after an abusive relationship. But it's just that, it's a step. It's not the final destination. If you stay there, endlessly replaying the past, reliving the pain, sifting endlessly through the wreckage, asking questions for which you may never have answers, you'll get stuck. And when you're stuck there, your toxic ex remains the main character in your story. That's why after weeks, months, or even years of no contact, it can still feel like your toxic ex still dominates your life. But change is possible. The real shift comes when you turn the page, when you realize this story, the story about narcissism, toxicity, and abuse, is the end of a chapter of your life, and that you need to turn the page and enter the next chapter. And in the next chapter, you become the main character. It's not easy to do, but it's where the journey of healing, thriving, and building beautiful relationships with yourself and with other people can truly begin. So how do you make the shift? Let me show you. To start with, you need to understand why this shift is so difficult to make. I mean, clearly, it sounds like a good idea. Yes, enter the next story, become the main character, reclaim your life for yourself. If only it were that simple. You see, deciding to move forward and to enter the next chapter is pretty scary. There's a relief in the recognition that your past relationship really was toxic or abusive, and that you've taken the first steps away from that highly distressing and maybe even dangerous situation. When the past has been so painful and so terrifying, any relief feels like an improvement. But the future, well, that can feel filled with disquieting uncertainties. You might even have a real fear of letting go of your focus on abuse and narcissism and toxic relationships. The thought process can sound something like this. If I stop trying to understand this relationship, might I forget just how bad it was? Would I become vulnerable to letting them back into my life? Or maybe even letting another person in who turns out to be just as toxic? Ruminating about narcissists, abusive relationships, and toxicity can feel like it keeps you safe, when in reality, it keeps you stuck. So how can you move on? Now, I know it's not as simple as saying, hey, stop thinking about narcissists. If it were that easy, you would have done it a long time ago. But here's the truth. Moving on from this rumination is possible. The thing is, it doesn't always look like the way we expect. It starts so small, so subtle, almost imperceptible, that it's easy to miss what's actually happening. For some people I've worked with, it wasn't even a conscious decision to stop thinking about narcissism and abuse. Something else happened. No drama, no sweeping transformation, just small, ordinary, quiet steps. But those steps changed everything. They started focusing on what mattered to them. Not on big, idealized goals, but on small, everyday moments that bring meaning and joy. This is the anti-narcissism strategy to healing and recovery after narcissistic or other forms of abuse. It's not about embarking on a profound, all-encompassing healing journey. You don't need to reach the heights of psychological health or perfect relationships. It's just about reconnecting with yourself. And just being you means paying attention to the everyday things that bring you meaning and pleasure and joy and connection. It's in the decisions to give those things some importance. And it can look very, very small. It might be as simple as picking up a paintbrush, playing a sport, going to an exercise class, reading a book, or watching a movie that interests you. These aren't dramatic, life-changing actions on their own, but over time, they create a powerful ripple effect. Each small act edges the toxic person out of your mind, making room for calm, for joy, and for connection. And gradually, you rediscover yourself. You rediscover what makes your life meaningful. You start to give importance to those things. You start to see yourself as worthy of love, and you begin to open yourself up to friendships and relationships. You start to create a life that truly feels like it's yours. This isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. This is about rediscovering the parts of you that have been overshadowed and suffocated in previous relationships. Healing isn't about what's behind you. It's about what's ahead of you. Your story isn't over, and you are the person holding the pen. Imagine a version of you who feels calm, centered, and deeply connected to what matters the most. That version of you may be closer than you think. Now, let me not pretend that healing is all sunshine and unicorns, that it will be the end of your struggles, and that you'll never have to deal with a difficult person ever again. Unfortunately, that's just not reality. There will be other difficult people in your life, and some of you are probably still having to deal with a toxic ex who continues to treat you in cruel and demeaning ways. But as you rediscover yourself, you may find that you're able to show up with dignity and quiet strength in even the most challenging of situations, because you know who you are and because you'll have an unwavering commitment to yourself. True healing is messy, it's complicated. It's about real people in real world relationships. And as you get to know yourself, as you rediscover yourself in these simple, small, and profound but deeply meaningful ways, you may discover aspects of yourself that may need a little more attention. You may start to notice old habits that have made you vulnerable to toxic relationships. Habits like people-pleasing, avoiding closeness, minimizing your own need, can all be habits that you develop to survive in a toxic relationship. But they're also habits that can hold you back from being able to open yourself up to new and healthy relationships, to friendships, and to love from people who might actually be good for you. But it's your commitment to yourself that will help you turn the page, creating real change in you, and in turn, real change in your relationships. And there's something I'd like to share with you. I'd like to shift the focus of this channel from toxic relationships and narcissism to really emphasizing strategies that create healing and thriving and building new and healthier relationships after abusive ones. But I have a challenge. Negativity and sensationalism sell, and they do really well on YouTube. So I'd like to ask you to join me, to be part of a community that emphasizes healing and building healthy relationships rather than just understanding toxic ones. Now, I'll still make some videos about toxic relationships and explaining narcissistic behaviors if you find those things helpful. But my emphasis and my focus will always be to turn the attention back to you and to help you become yourself again, to get to know yourself, to care for yourself, and to build better relationships. If this resonates for you, please join us. And if you'd like to help me spread this message out to more people, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. And if you're not sure what to put, just put, "Hey, Dr. Ruth, it's all about me now." These small things really help get this content to more people and can create a ripple effect, helping more people to heal and to recover. Together, we can create a little space on the internet where healing and building healthy relationships takes center stage, where we leave the pain of toxic relationships and narcissism in the past, and we start to create the lives we deserve. And it is an honor to take even a small part of this journey with you.